Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 1 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to be going in depth into my top 32 ranked wide receivers for week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season, as well as discussing why I have them ranked at each and every single spot inside of the top 32. But before we get into the breakdown of the wide receivers for this week, I would like to ask, if you are new to my YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you leave a like down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. And if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask down below in the comment section. I try to answer every single comment that I see. And real quick before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for the over and the under based upon how likely it is that the prop is to hit. Hit the most props and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. Thrive has over 140,000 guaranteed in prize for NFL Week 1 and has awarded over 4 million. Use promo code Notorious. Again, promo code Notorious when you sign up today, and you will receive a 100% instant first deposit match up to $100. And if you deposit $10 today, you will get one free Sunday $100,000 ticket. And if you deposit $20, you can get 2 free Sunday $100,000 tickets. So please make sure that you guys use promo code Notorious, or just click the link in the description to activate your offer today. And he goes on to win you your week because of those huge plays he makes throughout the game. But unlike the Henry Ruggs, unlike the Hollywood Brown, unlike those other fast wide receivers, Tyrek Hill is still very, very consistent. He is not just a guy that is going to catch one deep ball in the game, and that's how he gets all of his fantasy points. He is very involved in this Kansas City Chiefs offense. This matchup up against the Cleveland Browns, obviously, this is not a soft cupcake matchup up against the Browns, but they are the Kansas City Chiefs offense. So they're going to be probably just fine in this game. This was a very interesting matchup from last year's playoffs. Obviously, Mahomes gets hurt in that game. They bring in the backup quarterback. The backup quarterback wins the game, but it was very close throughout. I think Tyreek Hill plays very well in this matchup up against the Cleveland Browns. At number 3, we have Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if you guys watch my running back rankings video or any of the videos I've talked about fantasy football week number 1 for the week, I have really talked up this game. I believe this is going to be a back and forth fight between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles with no defense. I will kind of talk about this as if it was a boxing fight, but you're not allowed to block. In this boxing scenario, both of the fighters have knockout potential. They're just beating the fuck out of each other. No one's going down, but no one's blocking. No one's blocking, so it's just going to be punches, 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 just to the face. That's what this game is going to be in boxing terms. This is 2 offenses that, in my opinion, are relatively solid. Both defenses in this game, not very good, which will lead to a very high-scoring game here. Wouldn't be surprised if Calvin Ridley finished as the number 1 wide receiver on the week. At number 4, we have Deandre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Tennessee Titans defense in Tennessee. How are the Tennessee Titans going to stop DeAndre Hopkins? The Tennessee Titans defense, you know, when you think about it, you're like, oh, the Titans don't have a bad defense, like that bad of a defense. And then you like pull up their players and then you're thinking, wow, this defense isn't very good. It's going to be a lot like last year. So I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to have zero struggle in putting up a big game here up against the Tennessee Titans. At number 5, we have Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Irv Smith ended up getting hurt, which sucks. But that does, in my opinion, actually have an effect on Justin Jefferson's outlook on the season. Sure, they trade for Chris Herndon, but is Chris Herndon going to be able to fill that void that Irv Smith was going to have? In my opinion, no, because I think Irv Smith was going to be eaten in the end zone. He was going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns this season, and now he's gone. Justin Jefferson really struggled last year with scoring touchdowns. Adam Thielen was just sucking in all of the fucking touchdowns last season. I think now with Irv Smith gone, with potential regression for Adam Thielen, then Justin Jefferson might be able to get 10, 11, 12 touchdowns, and he could be one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in fantasy football. In this matchup up against the Cincinnati Bengals, this is another case of a boxing fight where there's no defense. Just fucking haymakers, back and forth, the 1-2 Mayweather. And I think Justin Jefferson is ultimately going to come out on top in this game up against the Cincinnati Bengals. In real life, I have no idea who's going to end up winning this game, but what I do know is that all the wide receivers in this game, I am very high on this week, aside from Jamar Chase. Next up, we have at number 6, Stefan Diggs of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when it comes to Stefan Diggs in this matchup, this is far from ideal, right, for the Buffalo Bills. The Steelers have a solid defense. The Bills have a solid defense. So you would think, you know what, maybe this is going to be a lower scoring game. And then I started to think about it, and I was like, both of these offenses are good enough to withstand, you know, the great defenses on the other side of the ball. So I think Stefan Diggs will be perfectly fine in this matchup. Stefan Diggs, just like with Adams, just like with Hill, just like with Ridley, just like with Hopkins, just like with Justin Jefferson, these guys are all fucking matchup proof. It doesn't matter who you put in front of them. They are going to, most of the time, win the battle. And if it is a really tough matchup, they're going to come out just fine on the week. But here, I think Stefan Diggs has the chance to play really good up against the Steelers, because I do believe, despite the great defenses on both sides of the ball, I believe that this is going to be a higher scoring game. At number 7, we have A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans going up against the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of the talk of the offseason is, hey, the Arizona Cardinals are building up this just monster defense. Sure, that's cool. But A.J. Brown is still going to be perfectly fine in this matchup up against the Arizona Cardinals. This is also a game that has a relatively high projected point total via Vegas odds. A.J. Brown is a guy you drafted early on in your fantasy draft, so obviously you're going to play him this week. You're going to list him as a top 10 wide receiver. One of the key sayings that I've talked about in all of these week 1 videos is to start your studs. To play the guys that you drafted early. In yesterday's game, the Cowboys versus the Bucs. You played basically everyone. Sure, Evans didn't have a great game, but you drafted him in the 3rd round, you're going to play him. Godwin, you drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round, you're going to play him. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, you drafted him early, you're going to play him. Michael Gallup did struggle a bit, so he wasn't an early round pick in fantasy football, so you were fine to, I guess, fade him. Antonio Brown was a guy that was fucking banging the drum for aggressively. This week, we saw it happen. He played really good. Now, something that I should have probably said right at the beginning of the video is Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, they're not in my week 1 wide receiver rankings, because why the fuck would I talk about them since the game already happened? There's really no need to be discussing that. But let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys looked really, really good in that game. Am I buying into them having this like resurgence, this playoff contending year where they're going to get into the playoffs, they're going to make some moves in the playoffs? No. But I do think they are a pretty solid team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were in the playoffs at the end of the year. So let me know what you guys think about the Bucs game versus the Dallas Cowboys in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, if you have ended up enjoying and you are new, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as hitting that like button down below, whether you are subscribed or not. Next up at number 8, we have DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Now, the Colts have a pretty solid defense, but if they are throwing the ball, which is what most people believe, I personally believe this is going to be a more run-heavy team in Seattle this year. But again, you drafted Metcalf in the 2nd, the 3rd round. You got to fucking play him. You got to see it out. You got to see it through. And there is a chance that this season, Russell Wilson is cooking it up. He's the 5-star Michelin chef behind the offensive line. He is Gordon fucking Ramsay, cooking it up back there. This amazing meal, steak, potatoes, all types of shit. Shallots, as he says. I don't even know, like a shallot, but he calls them shallots. All types of crazy shit. Good food back there. That's what Russell Wilson has the chance to cook up, because Russell Wilson's great. Will that happen on the year? I don't know. But what I do know is here up against Indianapolis, you'd kind of be a little bit foolish to rank DK Metcalf outside the top 10. At number 9, we have Keenan Allen of the LA Chargers going up against the Washington football team. This is a game that I expect to be very low scoring. This is 2 great defenses. This is a great quarterback in Justin Herbert the pervert. A kind of a, I don't know what to describe Ryan Fitzpatrick as. Just a momentum-based quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick might go out there and he may beat the fuck out of the defense at the beginning of the game. Then he's going to be on fire the whole game. But if he struggles at the beginning, then, you know, probably wasn't the best idea to start Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, so I don't love either of these wide receivers, Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin. They're ranked inside of my top 10 because they are so heavily used in their offense that even if it isn't a high-scoring game, they will be perfectly fine for fantasy football. Maybe the touchdowns won't go their way, per se, but they will be very involved. Keenan Allen may be even more involved if Austin Eckler misses this game. That is something to kind of monitor right now, because I'm not going to go here and stand here, reality, sitting down in the chair, and tell you that, hey, 100% Eckler is good, 100% Eckler is out. He didn't practice yesterday. Does that mean he's out on Sunday? No. But I would be cautious. If he doesn't play this week, though, I am near 100% sure that based on everything I've looked at from these doctors, that Eckler is going to be good to go next week. But with that said, if Eckler is out, I like Keenan Allen even more here up against the Washington football team, Terry McLaurin. I talked about this a lot in the offseason. Ryan Fitzpatrick just does this thing where he just laser locks onto one wide receiver. He picks his favorite target. He's locked in. He's going to be feeding that guy the ball. I believe that is going to be Terry McLaurin in this Washington football team offense, and even up against the Chargers defense that I believe to be relatively tough, Terry McLaurin should still be fine based upon the volume alone. Now on to wide receivers 11 through 20. We begin with wide receiver of the Chicago Bears, Allen Robinson, going up against the LA Rams in LA. A lot of people are starting to fret. They're getting a little bit nervous. They're thinking, oh, Nick, man, Jaylen Ramsey he's gonna shadow Allen Robinson. What's Allen Robinson gonna do against Jaylen Ramsey? Let me tell you something now. In the receiver start set video, I called Jaylen Ramsey a pussy. Now, in reality, I know Jaylen Ramsey isn't a pussy. I know if me and Jaylen Ramsey were to get into a fight, Jaylen Ramsey would murder me. Literally. Just destroy me. I would say no chance. But what I mean by calling him a pussy is that he doesn't shadow people. He just does not shadow people. He's not going to go and shadow Allen Robinson. He's going to stay on his side of the field. If Allen Robinson makes just the slightest move, like he goes left just a couple of yards, someone else comes into his spot, then Jaylen Ramsey is going to cover whoever is in front of him. Last year, we saw that be Darnell Mooney. And Darnell Mooney cooked Jaylen Ramsey up a little bit. So I think Allen Robinson will be perfectly fine this matchup. Now, I do expect Jaylen Ramsey to be on him a majority of the time, but last year, if you looked at it, it was only about 70% of the time that Jaylen Ramsey was on Allen Robinson, whereas normally if Allen Robinson's going up against the top-tier corner, say a Jaire Alexander, it's like 90% of the time, 85% of the time. So Jaylen Ramsey will be covering Allen Robinson a decent amount. I just believe that Allen Robinson will be perfectly fine with or without Jaylen Ramsey on him. At number 12, we have Robert Woods of the LA Rams going up against the Chicago Bears. Now, a lot of people, they saw, holy fuck, man, did you see Brady with Godwin, with Antonio Brown? You know what's going to be truly inspiring? When Matt Stafford is slinging the pigskin to Robert Woods as well as to Mr. Cooper Kupp. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. It was like Dak, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb last night. Now, I don't expect them to put up those crazy numbers because Cooper and Lamb and Dak, those guys were like week winners. Now, obviously, we haven't seen what happened on Sunday, so obviously some quarterbacks and wide receiver combos may just become way better than that, right? But what I'm saying is those are great combos. It's like peanut butter and fucking jelly. But I believe Robert Woods and Matthew Stafford are going to be a similar combo. I think Robert Woods is going to be able to eat even up against a tough Chicago Bears defense. At number 13, we have Julio Jones, wide receiver of the Tennessee Titans, going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, I talked about this with A.J. Brown. The Arizona Cardinals made a bunch of moves in the offseason on the defense, but this defense, how are they going to stop Julio, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry? You're just not going to. Pretty simple, you're just not going to. And Julio Jones does have the upside to finish as a top 12 wide receiver on the week. At number 14, we have Wiki DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers going up against the New York Football Jets. Now, a lot of people, they're banging the drum for Robbie Anderson. A lot of people, they're talking up the double revenge game. Mono man Sam Darnold throwing the ball to Robbie Anderson. The big double bird, the double fuck you to the defense, to the offense, basically to the whole New York Football Jets organization. That's what that's to. It's not to the players on defense, the players on the offense. I doubt they care about that. They just care about the organization. And they're going to go ape shit on these guys, right? That's what the expectation is for Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson. And I expect that too. But what people aren't talking up is DJ Moore, who's the #1 wide receiver there, going up against a bad Jets defense. I like DJ Moore a lot this week. At number 15, we have Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. When I talked about Justin Jefferson a couple of minutes ago, I talked about how Adam Thielen's numbers were really inflated last year by the total of touchdowns he scored. But with the Irv Smith injury, it is entirely possible that Adam Thielen scores just as many touchdowns in this matchup up against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a great matchup, like I said, so I like Adam Thielen a lot this week. At 16, we got Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams versus the Bears. I don't know if I talked about this when I talked about Robinson and Woods. This is a tough matchup on both sides of the ball. Tough matchup because the Bears defense is good. Tough matchup because the Rams defense is good. But at the end of the day, these are two, especially this is Stafford for the Rams. So Cooper Kupp will be perfectly fine up against the Bears. At number 17, we have Brandon Nyuk of the 49ers going up against the Detroit Lions in Detroit. This is a smash matchup for Nyuk. I just really don't understand why they're going to let Nyuk play. Because he's coming off the hamstring injury. Like why risk him against the Lions? But they're going to play him. The Lions are an easy matchup. Nyuk could be 40% and just dominate fantasy football-wise on the Detroit Lions. So who really cares about his health? I guess, like, Shanahan doesn't give a fuck, right? Or maybe I'm just wrong and he's perfectly fine, right? And there's no chance of re-injury or anything, then that's fine. Go ahead and roll him out. Obviously, this is a great matchup up against the Lions. Brandon Nyuk, obviously, a must-start player. At number 18, we have Deontay Johnson of the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Deontay Johnson, this is a tough matchup for him. This is a tough matchup for him, but I believe the volume, the vast amount of volume that is going to go the way of Deontay Johnson will outweigh the tougher matchup up against the Buffalo Bills. At number 19, we have He Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Minnesota Vikings. If you guys are subscribed to the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel, make sure you do that. I make other videos on there every single day. I'll be live streaming there on Sunday at, I believe, 12 until 1. I'll be live on my YouTube channel probably from 11 till 11:50, maybe 10:45 to 11:50, something like that. So make sure you guys are subscribed here as well as there to get me on Sunday for the live streams. I'll be answering all types of questions. I was live on Thursday as well, so if you guys are subscribed to this channel, hopefully you turn the notification bell on so you're notified when I live stream, because I live stream every single Thursday. I'll be live streaming every single Sunday as well, and I might think about live streaming on Monday. Now, obviously, there's not as much to talk about on Monday when it comes to fantasy football, but I just think it might be a fun time, so I have definitely considered potentially live streaming on Monday. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys would watch if I live streamed on Monday. So T. Higgins was a guy talked up on there as a must-start wide receiver. Now, the reason why I like Mr. T. Higgins this week is because of the matchup. I think Jamar Chase has struggled immensely in practice, struggled in training camp. I believe he's going to struggle in this game, even up against a not-so-hot Minnesota Vikings defense. So in that case, if Jamar Chase struggles, then T. Higgins is the clear alpha receiver there in Cincinnati, which will mean he has a ton of value this week up against the Vikings. At number 20, we have Tyler Lockett in my pocket skirt of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. Tyler Lockett is one of those players that makes me just so confused every week. Tyler Lockett may drop 50 points in this game, and I would not be surprised in the slightest if he took the Indianapolis Colts defense out back behind Denny's and fucking spanked them 50 Shades of Grey style, all right? And I also wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Lockett had fucking 4 points in this game, because that's what Tyler Lockett does. He's either in or he's out, okay? That's what it is. He's either going to have a great game or a bad game. And that's the gamble you take when you draft a Tyler Lockett. Now, maybe this season he's more consistent, and week in, week out, I will have a better opinion on him. But going into week number 1, I have him ranked at wide receiver 20. He's a huge risk, but he's a risk-reward player. So it makes sense to start him every single week, but the risk is also there every single week. Now on to wide receivers 21 through 30. At number 21, we have Robbie Anderson of the Carolina Panthers going up against the New York Jets. Like I said, the Jets defense sucks. It's the double revenge game. I do prefer DJ Moore, but I think Robbie Anderson could easily finish as a top 24 receiver on the week. At number 22, we have Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I wasn't as high on Tyler Boyd yesterday when I was talking in the live stream as I am today. Thought about it more, kept thinking about it, kept looking at the matchup, and I was thinking, you know what, Nick, you really believe in the high-scoring matchup here between the Bengals and the Vikings. You believe that He Higgins is the wide receiver 1. You believe that Jamar Chase is going to struggle. So who's going to get the second most targets? Tyler Boyd. That's why he is going to be a top 24 receiver in this matchup. The Bengals, now again, actually technically top 24 receiver. None of these guys are ranked technically inside the top 24 because Godwin, Evans obviously had a shitty game, but he was ranked inside the top 24. So was Cooper, as was CeeDee Lamb. I don't know why, I just fucking couldn't figure out what their names were, as if there's some like bad players or something. But yeah, those guys were ranked ahead of all these players, but they were still inside of the top 24. So technically, Tyler Boyd's not a top 24 player, in my opinion, on the week, but you get what I mean. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's no reason to have those guys in this video because it just screws out the other players that you're still having decisions to make for this week. So next up, we have Debo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Lions. A lot of people, they're really high on Nyuk. They're thinking Nyuk up. They're talking him up. They're fluffing him up. And then people just forget, hey, Debo's still there. Debo's still going to play good. This is an easy matchup, like I said. I expect the San Francisco 49ers to just beat the ever-living shit out of the Lions, so I expect Debo to have a great game as well. Number 24, we have Corey Davis of the New York Football Jets going up against the Carolina Panthers. Don't love this matchup because of Zach Wilson's first ever game in the NFL going up against the Carolina Panthers defense that I believe to be underrated. But at the same time, Davis is the clear wide receiver 1. Jamison Crowder is out. So Corey Davis will be feasting in this matchup with a high volume of targets. At 25, we have Devonta Smith of the Eagles going up against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Now, I want to rank Devonta Smith higher, but I do understand that there's immense risk with Devonta Smith here. There just is. I believe he's the number 1 target on Philly, but will he be when all things are said and done on Sunday? That's the question. I personally believe so, but I definitely think there is some slight risk, not some slight risk, some decently sized risk in playing Devonta Smith in his first game here. That's just my opinion on it. At number 26, we have Chase Claypool, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers, going up against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I am not a fan of Juju. I believe Deontay Johnson's the clear receiver 1 there. I think Claypool is the second best. So I think Claypool will be fine, but this matchup is tough. And if he's not getting that supreme amount of volume that Johnson is getting, which I don't believe he will, then if Claypool doesn't score, I think he will struggle potentially in this matchup. At 27, we have Brandon Cooks of the Texans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Smash matchup for Brandon Cooks, but Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback. If I'm being honest with you guys, I would rather have Davis Mills, I should say, be the starting quarterback, because maybe Davis Mills has just an ounce of risk in him. Tyrod Taylor is the least risky quarterback I've ever seen in my life. This guy doesn't do anything that will potentially lead to anything bad happening. He just loves checking. He's like Teddy Bridgewater, but Teddy Bridgewater is better than him. But it's like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Tyrod Taylor. If you watch the Chargers last year in that first game, before he ended up getting stabbed in the lung, O.J. Simpson style, then it was just bad. It was bad for Keenan Allen. It was bad for Austin Eckler. The team was fine, but like scoring standpoint, it was just bad. The Texans are bad. The Jaguars defense is bad, so Cooks could still be good, but I'm worried about Tyrod being the starter. Number 28, we have Jerry Judy of the Denver Broncos going up against the Giants in the Meadowlands in MetLife in New York. Not really in New York, though, in New Jersey, my home state. And then at 29, we have Cortland Sutton on the same team. So this is not the best matchup up against the Giants defense because the Giants defense isn't terrible. This is projected to be one of the lower scoring matchups on the week. Teddy Bridgewater, I don't love. Like I said, he, just like Tyrod Taylor, doesn't make many mistakes, plays kind of scared, doesn't ever go to just like, say Cortland Sutton's fucking deep down the field, it's a 50-50 ball. In my opinion, Cortland Sutton, pretty solid in the 50-50 ball, has a pretty solid chance of catching the ball, but, you know, Teddy Bridgewater's not going to do that. He's just going to check it down, or he's going to throw it to Judy, standing near him. So I think Judy is the better wide receiver in this offense for fantasy in this matchup. I do prefer Judy, but I do see the upside here because the Denver Broncos are a pretty solid team. At number 30, we have Marvin Jones Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Houston Texans. Now, at this 30th overall spot, you can basically put in whichever wide receiver you believe is the best wide receiver in Jacksonville. Who's going to get the most targets? You either believe it's Laviska or DJ Chark or Marvin Jones. My personal bet, who the best receiver is here, it's Marvin Jones. So I like Marvin Jones here up against a bad Houston Texans defense. I think Trevor Lawrence looks good, even though this is probably going to be a relatively low-scoring game. Final two players of the video, final two wide receivers. Again, if you have enjoyed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. At number 31, we have Juju Smith-Schuster, Corvette of the Pittsburgh Steelers, TikTok boy at the Buffalo Bills. Not a great matchup. Not a great matchup. He's the wide receiver 3. So maybe they put the two better corners on Juju or on Claypool and Johnson. But I doubt that's going to happen, if I'm being honest with you. So I think Juju is going to be relegated to a tough matchup with a not as high role in the offense, not as much targets as Claypool and Johnson. So I don't really like Juju this weekend. At 32, we have Jamar Chase of the Bengals going up against the Vikings. Now, like I said, I think Jamar Chase is going to struggle. Jamar Chase came out and said that he cannot see the football. He misses the white stripes that are by the laces in the NCAA. He's like, I can't see the ball. Come on, man. You can't see the ball. Okay. Okay, pal. But still a great matchup. I think he's going to struggle, but the upside is immense if this is the high-scoring game that I believe, and Jamar Chase is getting a lot of work, which is possible. We just got to hope he catches the ball if you have Jamar Chase. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that like button down below as well. Make sure that you leave a comment. It really helps me boost this video up the algorithm so that more people can see it. It helps me out a ton, and I hope that I helped you out a ton in this video. If you have any more questions, make sure to leave them down below in the comments. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe, and as always, good boy.